So March Madness is coming up, and in the spirit of all the inevitable chaos, I took every college football team and put them in a single elimination tournament. Oh, and North Dakota State is a part of this also. Subscribe! So we moved to the first four, New Mexico at Nevada, and North Dakota State from the FCS against Hawaii. Nevada takes out New Mexico by 15, and North Dakota State upsets Hawaii. FCS North Dakota State looking good. So now we have the first round, featuring Georgia and LSU, as well as Texas. Should be a very strong region. Lots of good games coming up. Let's start off with Nevada and Georgia. And anything can happen in this simulation, so don't be surprised to see a bunch of upsets in this series. Alright, so these teams are deadlocked at 7-7, Georgia 14. Nevada responds, but they missed a field goal. Now they got a 2-point conversion, 21-17 after Georgia has a field goal. Nevada has another touchdown. They have Georgia on the ropes here. And this might be an upset. First game of the first round, and we already have the 1 seed going down. And again, this is Madden. I told you, anything can happen. If Nevada can beat Georgia, then any team can beat anyone. So we have West Virginia and Western Kentucky. Let's see how they do. Western Kentucky takes the lead late in the fourth. West Virginia responds. Now WKU. Oh, now West Virginia has a field goal, forcing overtime for the first time in this video. And West Virginia wins by a field goal in overtime. A nice comeback win, back and forth game here, as West Virginia advances on to take on Nevada. North Carolina and Stanford, not a close game here. UNC advances. Purdue beats Buffalo 34-12. LSU beats Central Michigan only by 6 points, but it wasn't very close. Georgia Tech upsets Oklahoma. Despite a late fourth quarter rally of 20 points, Oklahoma could not overcome Georgia Tech. And now we have Texas and Old Dominion 17-10. Late in the third quarter, Old Dominion adds on a field goal. Texas adds on another field goal of their own. Old Dominion ties up the game with a touchdown, and let's see if Texas can respond. 27-20. Old Dominion gets a touchdown late in the fourth, and they get a field goal in overtime. They knock off Texas. What an upset. And this region has been turned on its head with multiple upsets, but here we have Oklahoma State beating Eastern Michigan. So we have lowest seed Nevada and Old Dominion advancing on. And let's see what Region 8 has in store for us. So we have Penn State, USC as the top seeded teams. NC State is another intriguing team, as well as Big Ten, a surprising team of Illinois. Penn State knocks off Arkansas State by 5. Mizzou beats Iowa State by 13, 30-17. NC State doubles Georgia State's score. South Alabama beats Utah State. None of these games were really too close. USC beats Colorado 34-20. Eastern Carolina beats North Texas. Or no, it's the other way around. East Carolina lost to North Texas by 12. And Illinois is upset by Boston College. And Boise State loses to Georgia Southern. So we have a fair amount of upsets, but we still have 3 of the top 4 seeded teams of this region moving on. And let's see what Region 4 has. We have TCU and Florida State, as well as Notre Dame. That should be an interesting region. UCF also, 2017 13-0 team. We all know that story. TCU beats Akron by 17. Here we go. Memphis is up on Auburn by a safety. Interesting score, 3-2, 5-3. You don't see that score very often. 10-5. Memphis adds on a field goal, 10-8, and they add on another field goal, 11-10. And let's see if Auburn can score. They do with a 2-point conversion. They win by a touchdown, 18-11. Nice comeback despite the safety. And now we have Rutgers and UCF. It's an 8-point game moving into the fourth quarter. Scratch that 2-point game after Rutgers scores a touchdown, misses extra point, but they score a field goal. And now the game is tied now, 29-29. Rutgers comes back with a field goal in overtime, 32-29. What a comeback there. Indiana knocks off Texas Tech. And we have Florida State, Texas State. Shouldn't be a close game, but it is, because it's Madden, 28-28, 35-28, and Florida State might be running away with this. Texas State adds on a late field goal to knock off Florida State at the very end of the game. That's March Madness for you. Another upset in this tournament. Miami beats Wisconsin by 2, but the score is closer than the actual performance was. And Notre Dame has no problem taking out UTEP And Washington State loses to Middle Tennessee State by 6. Really dropping the ball there. And aside from TCU and Notre Dame, lots of upsets here, as we see a bunch of high-seeded teams. Should be an interesting region. Let's see who prevails. Region 5, we have Alabama and Pittsburgh, Mississippi State, and Washington. In fact, the 5 top-seeded teams in this region are all from all 5 different of the Power 5 conferences. Lots of diversity there. Alabama takes out Charlotte. Houston loses to Toledo. That's an upset there. Pitt beats Miami of Ohio. Connecticut beats Fresno State by 1 point. Washington takes out Temple, probably closer than they would have liked, but they'll take it. Syracuse advances past UAB. Mississippi State takes out UNLV 41-23, and Maryland beats Louisiana 27-16. Not a lot of upsets here, as again the 5 aforementioned teams from the 5 different conferences all win. Should be a nice chalky region to see who comes out on top. Region 3, we have Ohio State and Oregon. Should be an intriguing matchup if both teams win in their respective regions. We also have UCLA, Blue Blood, and Nebraska. Should be a fun region. Ohio State beats out FIU. Texas A&M scores 52 points. I believe that's the most we've seen in this video so far. They beat Ohio. Troy beats FAU. It was not a close game. Iowa beats Tulsa by 8 despite a 15-point fourth quarter effort by Tulsa. Oregon beats Northwestern, wasn't close there. Wyoming loses to Arkansas by 16. Now we have Ball State and UCLA. Ball State has the early lead on UCLA. They add on it. 10-point game coming into the fourth quarter. UCLA adds a touchdown, same as Ball State. Ball State's handling UCLA pretty well, but UCLA is sticking in this matchup, and they ultimately lose to Ball State, however, losing by a field goal, and Nebraska beats Air Force by 11. So with the conclusion of Region 3, Ohio State, Texas A&M should be a good matchup. Oregon, Arkansas, as well as Nebraska and Iowa from the Big Ten surviving. From Region 6, we have Tennessee and Clemson. They met in the Orange Bowl in 2022. We also have Cincinnati and Kentucky, as well as South Carolina. Some very good teams. Let's see who comes out on top. We have Tennessee beating USF by 18, SMU beating Arizona by 2 scores, Cincinnati losing to Virginia Tech. I'm surprised. They lose 38-20. Kentucky defeats Navy 34-3. Clemson beats Louisiana Tech only by a touchdown. That's concerning. We have San Jose State and Coastal Carolina 17-14. San Jose has a 2-score lead. 3-score lead, 31-14. Coastal needs to find something, and they need to find it fast. And San Jose State adds on a safety, it looks like. They just keep scoring points, but Coastal Carolina, they came back. How many points did they score in the fourth quarter? It has to be like 17. I'm surprised with that comeback. South Carolina and Wake Forest beat Rice and Army respectively. And this is our updated bracket. Tennessee, Clemson surviving. Scar and Wake Forest should be a good matchup, as well as a Power 5 matchup in the bottom left with Virginia Tech and Kentucky. Region 7, we have Utah, Kansas State, BYU. We have a bunch of Big 12 teams. We have Baylor and Kansas as well. Utah beats Colorado State by 17. Kansas loses to Liberty by a touchdown. High scoring fourth quarter. UTSA beats Bowling Green, had to come back in the fourth quarter, but they did it. Duke loses to Southern Miss after Southern Miss scores 18 in the fourth quarter. NIU up on Kansas State. Kansas State needs to find something and fast. 21-6. Kansas State adds on the field goal. I don't think that's going to be enough. Time is running out in the fourth quarter. Kansas State is finding points late in the game though. They tie the game, and who comes out on top? It will be Kansas State scoring a field goal to knock out NIU and come back. Nice comeback from there. BYU beats San Diego State. Ole Miss beats Kent State by a field goal. And Baylor beats Cal by 35 points, scoring 45. Big scoring explosion from the Bears. This is how Region 7 looks. You have Utah and Kansas State, the top seeded teams advancing. Kansas State faces BYU, a matchup with future Big 12 teams in Mississippi and Baylor. A nice Big 12 SEC matchup there. Region 2, we have Oregon State and Michigan, the top seeded teams there. Tulane, group of 5 representative in the New Year's 6, also in this region. But we have UOM. They have Oregon State on the ropes, but Oregon State scores 13 unanswered points. It doesn't matter, as UOM wins on a safety. They win 22-20. What an excruciating way to lose there. Appalachian State beats James Madison by 1. Tulane beats Western Michigan by a field goal. Florida beats Vanderbilt by 24. It was not a close game at all. Neither is this one. Minnesota beats Arizona by 2 scores. Virginia beats Louisville by 12. Michigan State beats Marshall 34-13. And Michigan and North Dakota State from the FCS. They're in this tournament though. They tie the game. They're giving Michigan a run for their money. Can they pull off this upset? We've seen the 1 seed lose before. And it will be a 3-point game, and it looks like it will stay that way, as Michigan avoids the upset bid of North Dakota State, defeating the Bison 24-21. So this is our bracket. We have a Sun Belt matchup to the left, and a Power 5 matchup in the top right. And look at the bottom right, we have the rivalry of Michigan State and Michigan being an interesting matchup. But this is our second round. Nevada, who just upset Georgia. That's going to be an intriguing name, as well as several Power 5 teams. Let's see how it goes. Alright, Nevada is up on West Virginia, 14-15. And 17-16, trading field goals. And West Virginia adds one at the last second of the game, beating Nevada by 2 points. That ought to hurt. But can't take anything away from Nevada beating Georgia in the first round. UNC builds a healthy lead on Purdue. Let's see if Purdue can respond. They do. They tie the game, or North Carolina has a field goal, but Purdue scores a touchdown at the end of the game to put away North Carolina. Look at that, 25 points in the 4th quarter. Wow. LSU beats Georgia Tech by 11, and Oklahoma State knocks out Old Dominion. Wasn't very close there. So in the regional semifinals, we have West Virginia and Purdue, and LSU and Oklahoma State. For Region 8, we have Penn State and Mizzou, as well as USC, a handful of Power 5 teams once again, NC State in the bottom left. Let's see who advanced. Here we go, Mizzou has a touchdown lead over Penn State, and Penn State adds on a field goal, and now a touchdown to pull ahead by 3 points. Mizzou responds, Penn State also responds with a touchdown of their own, and let's see if Mizzou can beat Penn State. They cannot, they lose 20-23. NC State dispatches of South Alabama by 21 points. USC wins in the rainy conditions, 24-17, and Boston College wins by 15 over Georgia Southern. So our Region 8 semifinals look like Penn State hosting NC State and USC hosting Boston College. All 4 of them are Power 5 teams. Region 4, we have TCU and Auburn, Rutgers and Indiana, Notre Dame, Miami, tons of Power 5 teams here. Let's see how it goes. We have top seeded TCU. They're tied with Auburn. Let's see who will make the first move. It will be TCU adding a field goal. Auburn responds. TCU adds on another field goal, and that's going to be it. They're going to win 19-16 over Auburn, sending the Tigers home in the second round. Rutgers and Indiana, a Big Ten matchup. Indiana is up big on Rutgers, but Rutgers has the will to come back, and they tie this game 23-23, and we need overtime. Indiana wins by a field goal in overtime. Here we have Texas State up on Miami by 7. Scratch that, it's a tie game now, and let's see who makes the next move. It'll be, they're trading touchdowns. It'll be overtime, and Miami scores that 1 touchdown in overtime that gives them the win 37-31. Middle Tennessee State up 12-10, 15-10 over Notre Dame. A little surprised with what Middle Tennessee State has been doing against Notre Dame. Notre Dame takes the lead late, but Middle Tennessee responds. They win 23-20, upsetting Notre Dame. Here we have Region 4 bracket, the updated bracket. Lots of upsets here, as TCU hosts Indiana, but the 77th seeded Miami hosts Middle Tennessee State. Region 5, we have Alabama, the top seeded team here. A handful of Power 5 teams here. Should be a fun region. You have Alabama somewhat struggling against Toledo, but beating them by 8. Pitt beating Connecticut 38-13. Another rainy game, this one in Washington, and they lose. Syracuse comes into Washington and beats them by 3, and Maryland beats Mississippi State by 3 scores. So now we have Alabama hosting Pitt, Maryland hosting Syracuse in the Region 5 semifinals. For Region 3, we have top seeded Ohio State hosting Texas A&M, a battle of college football blue bloods. Oregon and Nebraska are also there. Should be a fun region here as Ohio State beats Texas A&M by 22 points, a defiant win. Troy upsets Iowa by 20. They beat them handedly as well. Rainy conditions as well seems to be the theme on the West Coast, as who can handle the rain better is a tie game right now late in the fourth. Can Arkansas pull out the victory? And they do, 23-20. They beat Oregon, and Nebraska beats Ball State by 10 points. So Region 3 semifinals are looking like Ohio State hosting Troy, and Nebraska on the road to Arkansas. Region 6, we have Tennessee and Clemson. They might be on a collision path, but we also have South Carolina and Virginia Tech, Kentucky, all looking to play spoiler. Let's see how it goes. Tennessee beats SMU by 5. You can see SMU in their Dallas retro uniforms. Looks clean, but they can't get the job done against Tennessee, losing 19-24. Virginia Tech has Kentucky on the ropes early, but Kentucky responds, tying the game and then taking the lead. Virginia Tech ties it up themselves, 24-all. This one will go to overtime. No, it won't. Virginia Tech scores a last-second field goal to beat them. Walk-off field goal. They win 27-24. Clemson beats Coastal 33-3. Was not a close game there. And Wake Forest is up on Scar by 10. South Carolina responds. They get it within 3. Then they take the lead. They lead by 4 now. And that's going to be it. What a big fourth quarter for South Carolina, coming back and beating Wake Forest. So we have Tennessee and Virginia Tech. Look at this, Clemson and South Carolina. Big rivalry matchup here to go to the regional final. Region 7, we have Kansas State and Utah, the top seeded teams in there, as well as the matchup in the bottom right that I'm looking forward to. Ole Miss and Baylor. Rainy conditions here as Utah beats Liberty by 7. Southern Miss beats UTSA by 14. BYU has an early lead on Kansas State, 21-16, make that 28-16. Kansas State must respond, and they do. A flurry of offense gives them the lead. BYU takes back the lead, but Kansas State ultimately scores a touchdown late in the game, winning 38-35. BYU losing to Ole Miss now 24-21. They retake the lead. A bunch of lead changes here, as now it's a tie game, 31-all. Now it's an overtime, and we're going to be at second overtime now. Who's going to take it will be Baylor, winning by a field goal, 34-31. And we will have a Big 12 matchup in the semifinals at Region 7, as well as Utah hosting Southern Miss. And for last region, Region 2, we have a Sunbelt matchup, Minnesota and Virginia, as well as the big one, Michigan State, going on the road to face their in-state rival, Michigan. Here we have Appalachian State tied with ULM. ULM takes the lead with a touchdown. Appalachian State responds, 24-all, and that's going to be overtime. And Appalachian State comes back and beats ULM by 6 in overtime. Florida and Tulane. Tulane, 21-10. Their Cinderella story of 2022, well known by everyone, and they knock out Florida 24-13. They'll face Appalachian State in the semifinal, and Virginia beats Minnesota by 11, and Michigan beats Michigan State by 25. Not a close game. I thought it would be closer because it's a rivalry matchup. Turns out I was wrong. And as mentioned before, Appalachian State and Tulane will face off, as well as Michigan hosting Virginia in the Region 2 semifinal. In the third round, round of 32, here are half the games in this round featuring Alabama, TCU, USC, and Penn State. We also have higher seeded teams like Boston College, Indiana, and Middle Tennessee State. So we'll start with West Virginia and Purdue. West Virginia builds a 10-point lead, make that 3 as Purdue has a touchdown and another touchdown, taking the lead themselves. West Virginia takes the lead back with a touchdown, and that's out of the field goal, 37-31. Purdue has a touchdown late in the game, and they win the game, 38-37. Nice comeback there. Oklahoma State up on LSU by 5, 17-12. And not a lot of scoring here. LSU adds on a touchdown, 27-24 now. Oklahoma State ties the game, time is running out, but LSU scores a touchdown right at the end of the game. They win 34-30, beating Oklahoma State. Penn State handles NC State 42-13. USC beats Boston College 29-20. And now we have TCU and Indiana. Indiana down 8 as they look to cut the lead. And the lead against TCU 24-21. Time is running out. TCU forces overtime, but Indiana gets the touchdown and takes the win in overtime. Big upset there. Middle Tennessee State beats Miami 20-9. Alabama beats Pitt 31-28. Maryland beats Syracuse 31-28. So this is the other half of this round of 32 games, including Ohio State, Utah, and Michigan. Let's see what's in store for us as Ohio State opens up by beating Troy. Arkansas eliminates Nebraska 31-24. Tennessee beats Virginia Tech by a touchdown. South Carolina and Clemson, Battle of the Carolinas, as this rivalry is tied 24-24. Clemson adds on the touchdown. South Carolina responds 31-31 in overtime, and Clemson gets the win 34-31. That's not how it ended in 2022 real life, but Clemson gets the win here. Utah beats Southern Miss, destroying their Cinderella run, and Kansas State up on Baylor 21-14. Big 12 matchup here to go to the Sweet 16, as it's still tied 28-28. But Kansas State escapes with a 3-point win late in the game as they advance to face Utah. Appalachian State up on Tulane by 10, as Tulane, their Cinderella story of 2022 might be coming to an end. But no, they get the late touchdown. Big fourth quarter, 14 for Tulane against Appalachian State 0, as they get the win. Michigan also beats Virginia pretty easily. So that concludes the round of 32. 16 teams remain, and you will see the results of the Sweet 16 on forward to the National Championship game in the next video. But anyways, in this graphic, you can see the round by round breakdown of upsets, average seed remaining after the games conclude, as well as the best and worst team that remain. Feel free to pause here if you want to read the graphic. And again, after starting with 130 teams, we are down to 16. Those teams are Ohio State, Maryland, Alabama, Tulane, Utah, Indiana, LSU, Southern Cal, Penn State, Arkansas, Kansas State, Clemson, Michigan, Tennessee, Purdue, and Middle Tennessee State. And then finally, you can see each team's path to get here. Some teams had harder splits, as maybe they were in a region with less upsets. Either that, or maybe the team was a higher seed, so naturally they would draw better teams with lower seeds. Some teams may have had easier roads as well to the Sweet 16, thanks to upsets elsewhere in their respective region. But that will wrap it up for today. I do apologize for the late upload. I wanted to get this out before the tournament started, but obviously that didn't happen. I was sick like the entire week, so I could not record this voiceover. I'm still recovering, but I needed to get this video out ASAP. And also, I could not spend as much time editing this video because I wanted to get this video out to you guys promptly. So if there were any major dead spots in my recording, or did not speak clearly, blame my lack of time or my sickness. And with that being said, the next video will be the conclusion to this tournament, and once that is over, I will release a video introducing my next series and what to expect for the remainder of 2023 for my channel. Thanks guys, peace out.